It's undeniable there are more players now than ever, so the e-commerce market has definitely expanded massively.
What can really help you overcome that fear is having data that's completely impartial, that backs up the fact that there are opportunities out there in e-commerce.
The UK's e-commerce market is estimated to reach just under £116 billion in 2023.
It's easy to fall into that trap, but eventually you realise that as long as I focus on improving my business every day, then there's no reason to worry about what other people are doing.
In e-commerce, if your customers resonate with your store, your brand, they don't need to go and look elsewhere.
Losers focus on winners, and winners focus on winning. The winners aren't looking at others, they're focusing on themselves, they're focusing on improving their business.
People now are shopping online more than ever, aren't they? You've got the older generation who are really becoming more confident. Welcome to the Dropship Unlocked Podcast, your key to unlocking the secrets of high-ticket dropshipping. I'm Lewis Smith, founder of Dropship Unlocked, and with me is our client success coach, James Eardley. Now, when we're not recording podcast episodes, we're running our own e-commerce businesses and helping aspiring entrepreneurs launch their own high-ticket dropshipping businesses. So if you're ready to learn how to build your own 6 or even 7-figure business, pick up a copy of my book, The Home Turf Advantage, whether you're looking to replace your income or launch a side hustle. I wrote this book as a roadmap to help you launch a low-maintenance, high-profit e-commerce business that gives you the freedom to spend more time with your family, travel the world, and work on your own terms. Ready to join us? Visit htabook.com to get your copy today. Now sit back, relax, and let's unlock your potential with the Dropship Unlocked podcast.
Have you ever felt that sinking feeling like you might have missed the boat on the next big thing? Well, hold on to that thought, because today in this episode, Lewis and I are going to be diving into a question that's on so many people's minds. Is dropshipping too competitive to start today? By the end of this episode, you might just think differently about the entire landscape. But before we unravel all that, let's dive straight into it, Lewis. I'm going to ask you a direct question to kick off the episode. So, is dropshipping too saturated in today's market?
I completely understand the fear and where the question comes from, and it absolutely is natural to wonder if you're stepping into an oversaturated market. So yeah, let's unpack this based on our years of hands-on experience with e-commerce and offer hopefully a clearer perspective on the true landscape of dropshipping right now and what's going on. So it's undeniable there are more players now than ever. So the e-commerce market has definitely expanded massively, but the pie itself is bigger. And let me explain a bit around what I mean when I say that. So a good example of this is I took my family on holiday to Dubai earlier this year for about 5 weeks, and we were out there. And there were huge changes since we'd last been there a few years earlier. But if you Google, on Google image search, if you Google the term Dubai then versus now, it'll show you a really interesting picture of what Dubai used to look like versus what it's like now. And the growth that's happened in that time frame that's come from expanded competition, expanded retailers, more people living there, more energy, more things happening there, more injection of money. So think of e-commerce in the same way, if you can, as this city that's growing, that's expanded. As more people come in, instead of it just getting crowded, like they didn't say, okay, let's not build any buildings, we're just going to have an influx of people there. The reason more people came is because there was more opportunity. And because there was more opportunity, more people came. And therefore they built more buildings and they opened more shops, more retail outlets, more malls, things like that. And so as people come in, instead of it getting overcrowded, the city itself begins to expand. So there are real parallels here with e-commerce. If you think of this as like the representation of the market, the more vendors there are, there's way more customers coming there because people will move there, the tourists will come there on holiday and want to go shopping. And so if you imagine us as the people, the vendors in that scenario, in that example, well, people now are shopping online more than ever, aren't they? You've got the older generation who are really becoming more confident with shopping online now. You've got the younger generation who are just getting into they're just getting their first smartphones and immediately they're like, okay, what can I buy online? And so you've got all of those people now in terms of the customers that are now available to us for us to serve. It just means that e-commerce adoption as a whole is up. Now, I know that that's just an example there, but to put things in perspective and to really put some numbers around this, According to Statista, the UK's e-commerce market is estimated to reach just under £116 billion in 2023. That's a massive arena with room for countless players to find their niche and to thrive like we've done. So while the competition is kind of part of the game and it's something to be aware of, the potential is just enormous. And in my opinion, the pie is just going to continue to expand to become bigger and bigger. So you probably need a smaller slice of it eventually. And it's just this ever-changing landscape with trends changing, technologies evolving and being launched, and strategies that maybe worked yesterday but might not work today. So there's always room to innovate and remain relevant. And I think that you just got to remember there's always room to innovate within this market. Think of it like the kind of hipster coffee scene that's really become a thing in the UK and globally over the last few years. That didn't used to be the case, did it? When we were growing up, when we were young, it was like very basic cafes where they just sold normal coffee. Now you've got so many of these real like latte art, Instagram-worthy, incredible coffee shops that are opening up that charge a fortune for what is essentially a basic coffee. But that's a classic example of an industry evolving and thriving, and with more sellers. If I'm a hipster coffee shop owner and I think I'm going to open a coffee shop today, I don't look at all of the existing coffee shops and just think, well, that's it, I've missed it. Other people are already selling coffee, so there must be no sales left. What it's done is it's expanded the customer base as well. And I know that because there are more branches, because there are more independents that have opened, it's made the scene more accessible to people in various locations. So the presence of other e-commerce sellers, to take it back to e-commerce and dropshipping, to answer your question, I don't think that the presence of other competitors should put you off. It shouldn't prevent you from getting started. If anything, the way that I view it, and I'm sure you view it too, is that it should prove to you that it is possible. So if it's possible for them, why not for you?
Exactly. And that's exactly how I view it. Because if you think about it, well, what's the alternative? Would we prefer to go into a market where there's absolutely zero competition? And that's often very much for a very clear reason. So actually, when you think about the alternative, if there was no competition at all, what that would be telling you is that there's no demand for that type of business. So when there is competitors, when there are successful e-commerce businesses all over the UK, that tells us that there's a demand for that type of business in the UK today. And I think, as you said, and the point you made so well with the coffee example, is people tend to think about when you start a new business, you might focus on how many competitors there are, but the focus isn't on how large the demand is and how much that's growing. If people started to put their focus on how large that e-commerce market is this year, then they'd start to forget about how many other competitors there are, because there's so many opportunities and such a big opportunity that we have at the moment with the e-commerce market being as big as it is. So we'll talk about competitors then a little bit more, Lewis. Do you think competition for e-commerce brands that are just getting started is necessarily a bad thing?
No, and to use another kind of recent example of where I saw this happen, it was just so clear to me that the competition isn't something to be afraid of or put off by or be fearful of. I was in Borough Market, the London food market recently, and there were so many sellers and vendors and people selling their food, like these food stalls and food trucks that had opened up as these pop-ups. Now, they wouldn't all be there if there wasn't a high level of demand and interest and a hunger for what they were selling, right? But it's differentiation that's key. They're not just all carbon copies and cutouts of each other, that it's exactly the same thing again and again and again. It's differentiated. So not all competitors offer the same value in any market. So both in e-commerce and in that example, you walk through a food market like that, and some stalls have got a completely unique twist, or some have got a signature dish that only they're doing that no one else has. It smells incredible and they get a queue of people lining up to try and order it. Or some are just from different cultures that are presented in that market currently. And so they have a differentiation, they have a unique proposition to offer. And it's the same with e-commerce stores. You might think that you're entering a crowded market, but do you have a unique marketing angle that you could put on what is already maybe quite a busy market? Is there something you could do around appealing to people that would buy from you because you're eco-friendly? Or perhaps you want to target just women or just men, or maybe it's just your store is just for parents. Or perhaps you say, I'm just going to be business to business, B2B. That's my differentiation. And then I can serve those business customers in the best way possible. And they feel completely at home when they reach our store. While others, it might be, okay, well, we are going to serve customers, but we're going to, or consumers, but we're going to have the best customer service in the business. And it's going to be so friendly and welcoming that people are just going to feel absolutely bought into our brand when they first contact us. And so, it's like a restaurant. They all serve food, but each of them have their unique flavors, their unique style, and they put their own spin on it. And that's the thing. Of course, it's good to just observe the competition and look at what's working, but use it as a learning experience and take the insights from what's working well, what's not working well, what resonates with you, what kind of brand you'd like to have. And then I think just find your style and roll with it. Use the data, but most of all, be open to adapting to what the market tells you, and ultimately you'll win. Because that's the thing. If you go into it closed-minded and say, I'm doing it this way because that's the way I believe it should work, the market tells you otherwise, and you're unwilling to adapt to that, then that's where you'll hit friction. So make sure you're open to it, take that feedback on board, and it's a recipe for success, right? That's the way that you will serve the market what they want to buy from you, and they won't be worried about who else is out there selling the same thing and the competition, because they'll resonate with you.
Exactly. And the only way you can really find out what the market wants is by getting into business and putting those fears to one side about competition, about saturation. Put those to one side, you can get started, and then straight away, you'll get all the data from your Google Ads campaigns. You'll start to hear things from your customers about why they would choose you and what they're looking for. And then you can carve out your little niche within the niche that you're in. And you can start to know exactly the customers that you want to serve, and everything you do with your business, the branding, how the best USPs that you give to your customers, all becomes focused around a specific customer type that you want to aim for. So all of these coffee shops that have been opening, if they'd seen the amount of coffee shops in the city already, they might have been really put off, but they got started and they identified this is going to be our customers. And then suddenly, within a competitive market, they've carved out their people and they show exactly what those people are looking for within that niche. And that's how you can differentiate yourself, I think, within a competitive market. So once we put those fears to the side, we can see how competition is a real good sign, as you say, Lewis, to actually there being success in that area. And then we can start to differentiate ourselves and make sure we're serving a particular subgroup of that niche to really differentiate ourselves. And there's so many things, abundant opportunities to differentiate yourself in many different ways. Say that somebody is going to get over that fear and will make a start, but how do they really identify a unique opportunity within the dropshipping landscape?
Yeah, well, when it comes to finding the right niche, the right suppliers, the right market to go into, data is king when it comes to this. Data is absolutely paramount. I mean, leveraging the data analysis can help you spot those trends and the niches that are going to work for you despite the competition that might be present. So I think that's the thing you need to be aware of. We have 9 different data validation criteria that we guide you through in kind of over-the-shoulder tutorials. We walk you through, this is how we look at a market, this is how we do it. So we're not going into any market just because you have a gut feeling it might work or we're wedded to it. When I hear those terms, that's like I hear alarm bells, because I think, are you going to be blind to what the data's telling you here? Because we want to ultimately stack the deck in your favor. We want to make sure that you have the highest chance of success possible. And to do that, you need to make sure you're looking at the numbers, because those are the things that will start to rear their head as you grow the business and as you start to bring in customers. You'll realize there is demand there. Okay, right, I've got a stable business throughout the year. Okay, I've got a prevalent list of suppliers that are all happy and willing to dropship with me. There's lots of things that we would look for before we even go about building the store. So many people kind of say, I'm set on this because I'm passionate about it. And I'm like, but could you be passionate about a business that makes you hundreds of thousands a year in profit and maybe not so passionate about the products that you actually sell yourselves? Like, if you just sold something that was relatively boring but made you an absolute fortune, would that be okay? And usually they're like, yeah, actually that would be fine. And you start to transition from like, oh, okay, so I'm not necessarily having to be passionate about the products or the brand. And you can be. If you can meet both, they're amazing. But if you're not, that's okay, because you can just be passionate about the entrepreneurship drive of building the business and launching the brand. And that's the thing that I think people fall into the trap of. So yeah, I mean, we follow the data to ensure that whenever we enter a market, there's clear demand, there's huge opportunity to grow, and it's set up for success from the outset. When we get through to the process of signing suppliers and building and running our ads, we're just going through the motions because we've already checked all the boxes, you know?
Yeah, and that data will point us towards the opportunities that are out there. I think when people have the fears about being too competitive to start, often that's your brain trying to be logical. And I think of myself quite a logical person that tries to think things through before making decisions. And that might be you as well if you've got that real question in your mind about how much competition there is out there at the moment. But what can really help you overcome that fear is having data that's completely impartial, that backs up the fact that there are opportunities out there in e-commerce. So by choosing a niche based on data instead of a passion, you can then get rid of those fears about competition, because you can see, well, that's how much demand there is for this niche. That's whether there's any competition in the market already. And you know that there's already people selling, there's the right amount of price per product. And you've got all of these different data points that are telling you that this is going to be a success. and you can become passionate about that, whatever that market is. So once we spot these opportunities by using the data to point us in the right direction, how can we then make the most of them?
Yeah, well, let's break it down quickly. We'll kind of run through how we actually use that data and make the most of it, as you say. So first thing is high quality UK suppliers. They're going to be the backbone of a really strong dropshipping business. And that means working with top UK suppliers to ensure that you can offer your customers fast, hopefully next day delivery, certainly within 1 to 2 working day delivery. And that will really boost customer trust, customer satisfaction, customer feedback, reviews, brand loyalty, all of these things that we really want in a long-term sustainable business. I was booking a hotel for an event that I'm speaking at in London in a few weeks. And I was using the filters on the hotel booking service. It was Trivago, the one I was using. And I was like, when you say, okay, I only want a hotel that's reviewed 4 stars or above. I only want it to have these facilities, so that I could just whittle down from hundreds of hotels in London to like the 1 or 2 that were within the 0.2 miles radius from the event, had all of the facilities that I needed and were highly rated. I didn't just log in and be like, I've got a real gut feeling that there's going to be a hotel around the corner. And I don't know, I'm just passionate about a hotel that I think might be there and I'm going to go for it. Like, it would be crazy to do that. But that's what we sometimes see people do in e-commerce when they're starting their business. I didn't just do it based on a hunch. I did it based on data. If it was terribly rated and, or there wasn't even one in the area, then I would have been stuck, right? So I had to whittle it down. And in e-commerce, we do the same thing. We whittle it down. We're not wedded to any one particular niche. We use our UK specific data-driven criteria to go down from a list of ideas. And we show you how to even generate the list of ideas in the first place and really get it down to the finalists, as we call them, that are your niches, your product ideas that are going to work. And you've already proven that they'll work because they're already working out there. And another way that you can maximize the opportunity that's out there is using something like a Google Ads new campaign type, which is its Performance Max campaign or PMax campaign type. Now, it's a real sharp campaign that can pull in potential buyers into your store. So from Google, from YouTube, from Google Shopping, from Google Search, text ads, display banners. These are incredible tools that can make sure that your products don't go unnoticed. And because you've already validated that there's an existing market, they're in high demands, that, all the criteria that we look through, there's price stability. We know that when we get those products in front of people with the right compelling marketing message and the right conversion tactics, we're going to start making sales. And the Performance Max campaign types are a savior for us as marketers, because the old way of doing that would have required so many different bits and pieces and audiences and overlapping, retargeting stuff with different messaging, so much additional faff and admin that we can just completely avoid now, because we can just use with one campaign that works incredibly well with AI-powered, machine learning-powered optimization strategies. So that's definitely one. Having said that, once you have your campaign live, regular optimization of both your campaign, but also your store and all of the marketing elements of your store as well will be key. So making sure that you're staying ahead by tweaking your product offerings, maybe optimizing your titles, your meta descriptions, your SEO attributes, like all of the things that you can do to really start to fine tune and boost your offering. And listen to your customers as well. Like we said earlier in the episode, hone your messaging in to ensure that it resonates with them. If you're getting on customers phone you up and say, I would buy this, but what I really need is this, this, and this with it, create like a bundle deal. Do something that resonates with your customers, that if one person's told you that they're thinking that, there are probably 1,000 more people who haven't told you, but were thinking it, hit your store and then just left because you didn't have what they needed. So when customers give you this feedback, even if they don't buy there and then, that's a gift that you can use and be like, oh, let's test that. Let's see if there is appetite for that in our customer base. So yeah, if UK suppliers interest you, I'd recommend listening to the episode 22 of the Dropship Unlocked podcast, which was titled How to Sign UK Dropshipping Suppliers. In that episode, we explained exactly how to find and then sign UK suppliers who sell those high-priced, high-profit products, and the ones that can offer next-day delivery as well to your customers too. So definitely check out that episode. It was episode number 22 of the Dropship Unlocked podcast.
Yeah, good episode there that we covered, and you went through the exact process to sign UK suppliers. And it's such an important part of the model that we follow. So it is really important that we can have really high-quality suppliers on board. And that's how we can really make the most of the opportunities that are out there once we identify that there is competition in a market. So we know that there is the potential there for a massive business. So let's talk about really differentiating ourselves now, Lewis, and making the competition irrelevant so that we can be, really successful no matter what the competition is out there. So how can we make competition irrelevant?
Yeah, so at some point have to just stop focusing on it yourself. Understand what makes your business unique and then capitalize on that. And you don't need to constantly be watching and analyzing and stressing over what your competitors are doing. Have you ever read a book, like if you're listening to this now, have you ever read a book that's really resonated with you where you thought, that's amazing, I love that book, I'm going to implement that strategy? If so, when you read it, did you think, but I can't implement that strategy because there are probably other books out there that are even better, right? I can't follow this one because there might be other books that conflict with this message, right? Probably not. You just thought, it's an amazing book, I'm going to go and implement it. In e-commerce, if your customers resonate with your store, your brand, they don't need to go and look elsewhere. I think it's something that we as marketers worry about because we are aware of the competitors, but a lot of the time the customers don't even need to shop around because why would they? Yeah, of course there are other places that they could buy if they went through the process of no, I just want the best deal to the penny and I'm going to shop around. I don't care about customer service. I just want price. Is that even the type of customer you want? Probably not. But if you give them great service, if you look after them, if you get them exactly what they need and over deliver, 99% of customers wouldn't bother going elsewhere because why would they? That you've looked after them, you've held their hand through the buying journey and process. So I think doing that is key, and eventually just giving yourself a break and not worrying about the competition will ease the load on you mentally as a marketer, because you can actually just get on with what you're doing, which is serving your customers in the best way possible and just continually focusing on improving your performance, your conversion rate, your marketing campaigns. That's what will help you continue to grow and outperform your competitors.
Yeah, and it's easy, I think, especially when you first get started in a business, to be focusing on the competition that's out there. And if you put all of that focus and energy and time that you spend looking at competition into improving your conversion rate, improving your marketing performance, think about how much further you'd get. And it's easy to fall into that trap, but eventually you realize that as long as I focus on improving my business every day, then there's no reason to worry about what else, what other people are doing. What is the competition doing? That becomes irrelevant because the focus is on you and how you can continue to grow. It reminds me of that old adage where they say losers focus on winners and winners focus on winning. Winners aren't looking at others. They're focusing on themselves. They're focused on improving their business, and that's how they stay winners and they don't fall into the trap of losers being too concerned about what other people are doing. So for those that are feeling overwhelmed or concerned about competition and whether they should start in dropshipping, which hopefully there's less people now after listening to this episode, but where would you recommend for those people to start?
Yeah, well, continuous learning is going to be important when you're entering a world that's as dynamic as e-commerce is. Lots of stuff changing. So adaptation is going to be crucial. You're going to make sure that you're always connecting and networking with people who are doing what you're doing. Get inside communities with other entrepreneurs. Get that collective wisdom that can give you unique insights. There's nothing quite like getting around a group of other people who are in the same boat as you, on the same path as you, and also they're building their UK specific businesses in the same way as you, facing the same challenges you have. That's what's going to be key, rather than trying to just build this on a desert island, being just out on your own. A good place to start with that is my book, The Home Turf Advantage. It's available today from htabook.com, and that will give you a step-by-step guide to build a business that can identify the right opportunity and stand out in your market so that you don't even need to think about the competition. And an additional bonus to that is when you purchase the book from htabook.com, you'll get exclusive access to our private members group, the Dropship Unlocked Launchpad, where you'll be able to meet hundreds of other entrepreneurs doing the exact same thing as you. Just a quick heads up, if you'd like to share your questions, stories, successes, or challenges, you can email us directly at podcast@dropshipunlocked.com. And you never know, we might even feature you on the next podcast episode.
Also, if you want access to today's show notes or any of the resources we've mentioned in the episode today, then head over to dropshipunlocked.com/podcast. We also have a small favour to ask of you. If you enjoyed the show so far, you could take a minute to leave us a rating and review on your podcast platform of choice.
You wouldn't believe how much your reviews help us grow the podcast. We'll even read out some of our favourites on the next episode. So if you want to be featured on the show, please do go ahead and leave us a review today. Thanks so much for your support. We really couldn't do it without you, and we absolutely love hearing what you think of the podcast.
So we have a question in from a listener, and I'm going to push this question over to you, Lewis, to answer today. This question has come in from Simon, and Simon has got his question in because he has purchased the Home Turf Advantage book, Lewis, and he's part of the Dropship Unlocked Launchpad community. And in that community, he posted a question, which I answered, but I also want to push to you on a podcast episode so that everyone else can benefit from this question as well. So thank you for your question, Simon. So I'll read this out for you now, Lewis. So Simon has asked, how can we build trust and authenticity for our dropshipping business?
Yeah, it's a fantastic question, Simon. So happy to have a go answering this one on the podcast live for you. I think trust and authenticity are going to be pivotal. So there are a few points that I'd advise you implement to increase that real trust and authenticity of your business. First thing is kind of the obvious, but it's the website's appearance. That is the thing you've built as an e-commerce business owner. So it's kind of like your storefront, your shop front. That is the first impression that customers will get when they first hit your website. So just make sure it's a clean design, it's user-friendly, it's got easy to use navigation, it's got the basics and the fundamentals in place. Don't overthink it, doesn't have to be perfect, but also make sure it's very clean and sleek and just easy to use, because that's what matters. That's what's going to increase conversions. In terms of other trust signals, incorporating reviews, social proof, making sure that you've got various payment options and you make those available, the Visa, MasterCard, PayPal, like showing those things if you accept those as trust, as payment methods. And also having badges like secure vendor trust seal badges, things that say you're a trusted seller. Imagine that they're kind of like, you see people put them in actual physical shop front windows saying that, we're like rated X on Yelp or things like that. Like those are the types of trust signals and social proof that you can put out there to immediately build credibility as well. And you can put those up on your site from day one. The other thing would be having a professional contact email and phone number, making sure you've got very clear channels for customers to reach out to. Don't use a mobile number or a Gmail or a Hotmail email address. Make sure it's your own domain email address. That's a bit like having a professional front desk or a concierge at a nice hotel. You want people to feel that it's professional, but also easy and accessible and reassuring that it's, okay, this is a real trusted business. This isn't just a person with a mobile phone who's put up a website very quickly. And then alongside that, having your business information available on your Contact Us page. So you'd want to make sure that you've got clear, detailed information about your business and just enhance your transparency. That's definitely going to build trust and authenticity as well. Your About Us page will be a good one, because that's where you can kind of share your journey and really tell a compelling story about how your business was founded. That's what humanizes your business, and that's what will connect with your audience. If they're an audience or a potential customer going to your About Us page, then they obviously have a question about potential trust, potential authenticity. They want to know a bit more. So give them what they need. Tell them the full story. Why did you create the business in the first place? Why do you want to help customers? What sets you apart? And then the final thing would just be consistent communication. So just regularly engage with your audience, whether that's through newsletters out to your email list or updates on social media channels. They don't have to be incredibly in-depth updates, just something to tell them that you're there, that you're a professional business, that you're putting out some content. And think of it as kind of like maintaining a friendship. You want to remain front of mind for them, so that those consistent touch points over time, they really build trust and authenticity. So just a few points there for you, Simon, but I hope that helps.
Fantastic. Thank you, Lewis. Loads of points there. There's loads of things we can do to build trust and authenticity for our customers straight away as soon as they land on the website. So things for you to be working on there, I'm sure. Okay, now to highlight a listener review that we've had recently. And this one's coming from Asay Shan. So Asay Shan, thank you very much for sharing your thoughts. You left your review on Apple Podcasts and you left a 5-star rating. And you also said, great insight into the world of e-commerce. Some good advice on how to break the 9-to-5 shackles. So thank you very much for your review.
Yeah, thank you so much for your review. It's really great to hear that you've been enjoying the podcast, and your review on Apple Podcasts makes a massive difference to us on the sharing algorithm for the podcast. So it will boost visibility and it really helps us. So thank you very much. Really, really appreciate you doing that for us. Do you want to make an impact on the podcast? It's surprisingly straightforward. If you do, simply leave us a review on your favorite platform of choice. And alternatively, if you are a YouTube enthusiast, then drop us a comment on this video and your review might just be featured inside our next episode. And as we wrap up in today's episode, can you think of a friend or a family member or a contact or a colleague who might benefit from today's topic on competition and reframing that belief? I think sharing this particular episode might spark that entrepreneurial journey in e-commerce for them. So share it today and you might just be the catalyst that gets someone else to follow their dreams.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Dropship Unlocked podcast. We hope you found the discussion both inspiring and entertaining.
If you're ready to begin your own high-ticket dropshipping journey, then here's what to do next. I've taken all of the years of my own experience, both in running my e-commerce businesses and teaching hundreds of others how to do the same, and I've condensed it all into my book, The Home Turf Advantage. It's your comprehensive guide designed to help you create your own e-commerce business. And you can grab your copy today at htabook.com.
Stay connected by subscribing to the podcast. This way you'll never miss an episode packed with valuable insights. And if you enjoyed what you heard today, please leave us a review. Your feedback motivates us and we love sharing our favourite reviews on future episodes.
And thank you for deciding to spend your time with us today. We really appreciate you and we look forward to sharing more high-ticket dropshipping insights with you on our next episode of the Dropship Unlocked podcast.